welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm starting a tag for the top 5 books I recommend for starting out on a spiritual journey. I don't have the hashtag yet, but I'll put it in the title. So yesterday I pulled this card from my textured tarot, and it really reminded me of that phase of my life in my early 20s when I was really absorbing all this new information. I had been an atheist for a while, and like an angry atheist too, really angry about certain things in organized religion. And so I had kind of tossed it all out the window, but now at that point in my life, I was reconnecting and exploring with an open mind. And that's what this really looks like to me. Just taking it all in. I don't have any of these books anymore because I love them so much. I gave them away. You know, like when you love something, you just want to share it with everyone. Like in this video. I actually haven't thought of these books in a long time, but on reflecting is when I saw how much they really shaped and really are the foundational start to my growth, and they've provided a strong foundation. Okay, so the first book on my list is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and I'm just going to read a quote from the book that sums up why I love it so much. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. That was mind-blowing to me when I first read it. Because I felt really alone in the world and disconnected. I was an atheist and still not trusting. And so this theme that ran throughout the book helped me start seeing guidance from the universe in the world around me. In the book, it's referred to as the omens, following the omens. And yeah, it was a powerful start. Like, I just experimented with it and it led me to a beautiful place. The second book on my list is You Are Here by Thich Nhat Hanh. And the tagline for the book is Discovering the Magic of the Present Moment. Now, after I had been reading The Alchemist, I was seeing the omens in the world. So that ties into how I found this book. So I was at my old job, Jamba Juice. I used to work there in my early 20s. And I was just hanging out. I think I had a day off, so I picked up a smoothie, and then I was going to go to the bookstore, which was across the street. My favorite section in the bookstore, by the way, was the Eastern philosophy section. I was really into Taoism because as an atheist, it seemed pretty secular, totally taking out any of the mystical side of it. But that I was really into that and Buddhism and trying to absorb that. Anyways, I was at the Jamba Juice and I saw a woman holding this book, You Are Here. And she was almost like hugging it. And she just looked so happy. So I took note of that. I was like, wow, this is a really happy woman. That's what I noticed first, actually. And then I noticed this bright yellow book that she was hugging called You Are Here. I left and went to the bookstore, went to my favorite section, the Eastern philosophy section. And I was just browsing to see what I would read next. And there was the book, You Are Here. And I was like, all right, it's a sign from the universe. And I picked it up. And I think I went to the park and read it in the sun. I was going through a really hard time at that stage in my life. I had been engaged and that had fallen apart. And so that was, you break open to let the light in type of thing. I was going through a dark night of the soul. And that book helped me feel okay in the moment. It also helped me see the world in a new way. Like, there's something about how we're part of this ocean, and each of us is a wave that has a beginning, middle, and end, and we're always made of the water of the ocean, which I really liked, because it was like, we're all made of the universe. We're all made of stardust. We're all these physical manifestations that have a beginning, middle, and end. And seeing it as a wave made me really feel that interconnectedness to everyone and the world around me. So I think everyone's heard of this next one. It's The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And yeah, it's even in pop culture. I remember watching the show Barry. Really funny show. And there's this guy, I think it's NoHo Hank, and he referenced the book, and someone you wouldn't expect to be reading a spiritual book. But yeah, the tagline for this book is A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom. And it just gives you 4 principles to live by. Shoot, I should be able to list them off the top of my head. I know one of them is be impeccable with your word. So like, always be honest, which is so simple, but often, like, sometimes we feel like we have to hide certain things. And that was a huge shift for me, because I was like, oh, I'm just going to be honest about how I feel and my truth. And if it's rejected, then that takes certain people out of my life. And I'm trying to just be my authentic self, not mold myself to what people want from me. Okay, so the 4th book on my list is Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani, which I actually found later in my journey, but it kind of, I had already been on a spiritual journey, and I saw her TED Talk actually, which I'll link below. And I was on the wall like for a few years, kind of, am I an atheist? Am I a secular spiritual person? And after hearing her recount her story, she had cancer, and then she basically died and went to the other side, and then came back and miraculously healed. So after hearing her story and about her experience on the other side, that kind of pushed me over to the full-on spiritual. So that's why this is on my list, and I really recommend seeing the TED Talk, linked below. This last book kind of bookends my first leg of my spiritual journey, and I read it at the time that I met my current fiance. It's interesting. I had a really bad breakup, and then I really connected with myself, and that allowed me to connect with who I believe is my soulmate. And this book is actually something that brought us together. What's the book? It's A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle. I don't know how to say his last name. I had just started seeing that I had an ego, and that I had been wearing this protective shell. I'd been a comedian. I'd been so many things, a dancer, a comedian, and all of that is channeled into my storytelling now. But yeah, I had an ego, like this survival layer of identity. And I'd started recognizing that. And when I met him, we had met up for a collaboration, and we ended up just talking about spirituality and getting distracted, and he was like my instant best friend. And it was incredible, because I had been really like thirsty for that type of connection. I hadn't been finding it in the community I was in, and it felt like a little miracle that I had someone to finally talk to about all these things that I was thinking about. And he brought up the word ego also, and he brought it up in a spiritual sense, because he had been reading a new earth. And everything he was sharing from the book was blowing my mind. And then he lent it to me and we would text about it. And yeah, I'll tell you the whole story about our soulmate connection in another video, but that book really opened us up to seeing each other on a soul level, to just getting outside of our heads and being there with each other. So that's the top 5 book recommendations for starting out on a spiritual journey. I wanted to list some bonus books that really affected my journey. What is it? Oh, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. I listened to that audiobook. I think I found it on YouTube. I listened to the audiobook, and yeah, that helped me tap into a universal love, like a divine love, receiving that in my life, and seeing when I was thinking from a place of fear and illusion and versus a place of love, and inviting that into my life. Yeah. Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. And another one is actually his Dark Materials, the trilogy, which I talked about in my last video. What is that video? It was a 31 Days of Tarot video. I'll just link it below if you want to see it and hear more about the book. But what I will say about it is there was a lot of controversy when it came out, because it seemed like it was saying to go against the church and church versus state separation. And as an atheist who was kind of angry about religion, I was drawn to that book. And it turns out that actually set me up on a spiritual journey, because I don't feel like the book is saying to not believe in anything. It's saying to think for yourself and to trust your own soul. And so that really changed my way of looking at the world. It's a fantasy novel, but it shifted my worldview, to be able to start believing in the magic of the universe. It's something I believed in as a child, and I kind of felt betrayed by the rules of different religions. Like specifically there's homophobia, which really, yeah. Oh, I'm getting chills. It really upset me. So yeah, that book really shifted me into trusting in some kind of spirituality. And my last book recommendation is to read books outside of your faith. Now, I grew up with Judaism, and then I had started exploring Eastern philosophy. And then somewhere along my spiritual journey, after I let go of some of my anger towards religion, I read some books from different faiths, like evangelical Christians. Now, I am not Christian, but I do like the connection to their prophet. And so that reading those books helped me see their connection and see the love they have and the love that they want to bring into the world. Now, I don't agree with doing it in a dogmatic way. I feel like that pushes people away, but I felt very open-minded going into it, and I was able to entertain those thoughts without feeling like my point of view was invalid. So yeah, read books outside your faith. It expands your mind and it helps build connection in the world. Okay, so if you want to participate in this tag, I'll have the hashtag in the title of this video, and you can make a VR. You can do it on Instagram, or if you want to just participate without making any content, just leave a comment below on what your book recommendations are. And I don't have the books listed below because what I wanted to do is if you like any of the books I listed, I want you to go ahead and list your affiliate links in the comments so that people can go and also support each other. It's just a fun little experiment, and yeah, let's spread the love in the community. I have more notes. Let's see. Affiliate links, hashtag. That's it. What are your book recommendations for starting out on a spiritual journey? Let me know. Okay, sending you guys love. Bye.